Welcome to a fresh episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Hey, if you're liking what you hear, please leave us a review. We would really appreciate it. Hey there, thanks for checking out another episode of the Restoration Today podcast. Today, I am joined by somebody who knows a lot about contents. She has been training in the restoration industry for years. She had a restoration kind of company of her own for a while. So she is a certified restorer through the RIA. If you haven't guessed yet, it is Barb Jackson. She is actually one of the first women, like within the top dozen, to get her certified restorer designation through the RIA, which is really cool. So Barb is here to talk about creating a contents department in your company, what some of the benefits can be to having a contents department, and then share some of her memorable jobs from over the years and where she sees contents going in the future, stuff like that, especially post-COVID and now cleaning for health, all those things. So Barb, thank you so much for joining me. So share a little bit about your background in the restoration.
Good morning, Michelle. Thanks for having me. As far as my background, I started out, believe it or not, I had a residential cleaning business and I was really bored with it. So I thought, well, let me start offering office cleaning. And I went to literally 2 offices. The second one was a disaster restoration company here in Pittsburgh. And I knew nothing about that field. So they said that they had a 5,000 square foot warehouse full of contents that needed cleaned. I said, okay, sure. So I figured if they're willing to try me, I'm willing to try the job. So I loved it. It turned out that in a very short amount of time, I ran into another restoration contractor who hired us. And so now, I didn't know it at the time, I was working for the 2 largest restoration companies in the Pittsburgh area. So I loved it. We were going to their warehouses and cleaning, and it expanded into working for about 30 different restoration companies in the tri-state area. So we started doing on-site cleaning also. We did structure cleaning, pack outs, we did water extraction, demolition, which I still love to do. So it's just, I loved it because every day was different. I had the unique opportunity of working for different contractors and their crews, and you get to see like the personality conflicts and the challenges of working with all these different people. And one of the things I figured out was that the crews looked at us as a threat. They thought, wow, if our company can hire a subcontractor that can do this type of work, then why would they need us, on payroll full time? So we really worked hard to just have a camaraderie with them, and we let them know we weren't there to take their jobs, that we're there as a resource when their company is really jammed and at the winter time or flood season, whatever that is, we're that extra resource, and we're working for 30 different companies. And as a side note, that was a way for me to see the flow of work within a marketplace. Mm-hmm. It was a very unique position to be in because, some contractors think, oh, if it's getting slow, the TPAs, the adjusters, they put us at the bottom of their list. That wasn't necessarily true. It was kind of like the work flowed through the city, and there was really no rhyme or reason. Some guys got real busy, and at times, different companies are different levels. Some of them do really good work. They have a good reputation. Other ones don't. But even the ones who didn't have the best reputation, they were still getting work. So it was unique. So I think my message to everybody would be just keep marketing and keep growing your business internally. And the better that your customer service is and the better your teams are, the work is going to come and you're going to be ready for it. And being ready means you're going to be profitable too. So as far as, being a subcontractor too, I had a shared liability on those job sites, which meant that I needed training, I needed the right supplies, I needed to be prepared. And I also needed advice. When I would go to the RIA events, IICRC events, all those events, I was always asking questions. There was no training available, but I did develop some good mentors. And, that sharing was invaluable for me. And I was hungry. So it forced me to take those tidbits of information and then improvise my own systems, my own processes, my own billing methods, my own pricing methods. So I needed to make things as simple as I possibly could so that I could blend in with all these 30 different companies and to not make them feel like we're a threat, but that we were a resource. We wanted to add to what they were doing. So, it was just a really interesting growth period for me.
So how much subcontracting work are you doing now versus training? I know that you're really big into training and coaching. So kind of what's the balance there for your company and you?
I don't really have a service business right now.
Okay.
So I would say 90% of what I do is training, consulting, facility design. That's helping those companies at a managerial level within their company. We just did a job this weekend with a local Belfour office, and we went in and we cleaned coins for the bank, and then we also did like initial cleaning so that they could open today. I do get hired as a consultant to help with project management, and I just did a job in Rhode Island where the company has been through my training, but they had a personnel shift and they didn't have a trained contents manager to go out on a job. And it was an 8,000 square foot house, really bad fire. It was a multi-million-dollar house. So I shadowed the new contents manager just to help make sure that the connections with the adjuster and like the communication, or if he had any specific questions about packing or cleaning. I also helped determine which contents were non-salvageable. So that was fun. That was 2 days on site. So I still love being out on the job sites, and they vary from the type of jobs they are. But yeah, I would say 90% of what I do is consulting and training.
Okay. So how have you seen contents cleaning and restoration and pack outs and everything going along with that evolve over the years when you've been doing this?
Oh my gosh, it's been so exciting because it went from being like the oops part of the job, like, oh, we got this, fire loss. It's a great rebuild, but shucks, we got to do contents. And so the guys who had just performed the demolition, now they're being asked to pack grandma's teacups, and they were not happy with that. So that's a resource that we provided to be able to come in and do it. But now with the training and workshops, the companies are seeing that this is a viable profit center, and they're hiring people. And I let them know, please, during the hiring process, let them know they're going to be required to pack and clean. And if it's not something they're inclined to do, then they may not be a good fit. But the changes within the industry, companies now see that it's a true focus and that content is a profit center, that it's viewed and set up as a division so that it does have its own profit margins.
Okay, so talking about the profit margins there. So when a company goes to set up I guess, okay, so a lot of companies sub out their contents work. So what can be the benefit even above and beyond, it's a good profit center, but does it also help with customer service and, do carriers or TPAs like it when you do contents in-house versus subbing it out to adjusters like it? Does it work better with the client to have one company involved? All of those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Having your own division gives you the control, the consistency, and care that you want to match the rest of your business. So, subbing out can be the weak link if you don't know the level of service that they provide. When we provided the subcontracting, we showed up in clean, unmarked trucks. We wore unmarked shirts. We didn't wear our own logo. So we truly represented that company. I presented to the contractors my roles and engagement of what I would and would not do, that I'm there to represent them. I will not talk to their adjuster and try to get work on the side from them. So I was there to build their company and make them look better, if that was possible. So selecting a subcontractor is crucial. What I see happening is that they'll hire a moving company to do the pack out. Well, that moving company doesn't do photo inventory. They don't photograph and inventory every single item that is being packed. They're not looking for the pre-existing damage. They don't document the notes. They don't make notes about what the homeowner said or who came to visit that property while they were there. And so there's a very big gap in the type of customer service. That's a relationship that really needs to be developed. Another thing is, anytime a subcontractor comes on the job site, you have to think about what presentation are they making? What do their trucks look like? Where do they park? Do they block the homeowner? Are they leaving trash behind? What are their crew members talking about? How does their point of contact communicate with the homeowner and the adjuster? So you're absorbing all their good and bad habits as part of your company culture now, because they're supposedly representing you. So if you have a subcontractor, there are times where you may want to make it very clear that they are a subcontractor, they're not part of your company. If there's any chance that it could be a negative experience, you don't want that reflected on you. So also, it used to be that we would call in our own restoration dry cleaners on our jobs. Now the TPAs are, saying who they want to use, and they may or may not match our company culture, but we still need to get along with them on our job sites and cooperate with them. So there's challenges. It's a very fine line working with subcontractors, especially with contents, because our contents are like the heart and soul of our lives and our houses, our homes. So if someone is tossing contents carelessly or saying, oh, well, this is junk, this is trash, that could be somebody's very sentimental possession. And, so it's affecting the homeowner. So we have to be really careful. So even though I was a subcontractor for so many companies, I would have to say that my preference would be to keep things in-house as much as you can. And if you have to subcontract, really get to build a good relationship with that subcontractor.
So what are some things that you help companies keep in mind when you will go in and actually help design a contents division, right? So all of the, like, what your entire line will look like. So without giving away any trade secrets, of course, what are some things that restorers kind of like overlook or don't realize that you really need to have a well-rounded, flowing contents division?
Your flow is everything. And, in class, or if I do free consultations, I let everyone know the flow is the moneymaker. So if you have any kind of traffic jam in that building, it's going to be a problem, because every second counts, especially when we're doing things over and over and over again. So those things that we repeat need to be consistent and not have any blockages. So our flow, usually what I recommend is having our storage totally separate from the processing area. The processing area is where our people are. So I don't recommend having any type of forklifts or any big pieces of equipment or trucks anywhere near that processing area. And that's for the safety of our workers, and it's also for the safety of the contents. I've seen contents division or processing areas right next to a wall of air movers. So the water division, they're just in a hurry to get their equipment off the shelving. Well, there could be an antique dresser nearby, and they accidentally knock it over, they bang into it, and now they're causing damage. And it's not fair to them to have to tiptoe around our contents. So having the division separate is really important. The flow is important. The amount of equipment that you have and the way that it's positioned, we don't want any certain capacity to overtake the entire space because our footprint is, precious. Buildings are expensive now to lease, to own. And so our real estate is really expensive and we have to treat it properly. My husband, Tim, is a master plumber. So the very first thing that we talk about is where is your plumbing and where are your drains? And that's where we want to put your contents processing systems. And then we also leave room for growth. So right now they may be doing only hand washing. And maybe 2-3 years from now, they want to be able to have ultrasonics or electronics processing, whatever that might be. So we build that into the footprint up front so that later on they're not cutting concrete for plumbing. So the flow is so important, and I'm always happy to share pointers with companies so that they can avoid mistakes up front. When we work with companies for their facility design, I let them know, like, get us involved even before you choose your building. And as you're looking at buildings, please just send us the designs. Have a FaceTime walkthrough with us, and we can just let you know if we see any major challenges with the property. So yeah, I'm pretty jazzed up about facility design, if you can't tell.
That's fun. That is fun. And that's smart to make sure that there's room for growth. That I think not everybody would think of that, and you don't want to design this and then not be able to grow with it. That's a good point. So I guess talking about ultrasonics and stuff, what do you think is like the best or coolest innovation you've seen used in the contents realm in the last like decade or so?
I think what I love is the 360-degree.
Like a matter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's some other brands too.
Yeah.
So being able to have that picture per se, walk through the house. I've been able to do virtual estimates from it because you can see every piece of furniture. Now, I might not be able to see inside a drawer, door, or cabinet, but I know it's there, and I know the cubic footage of what's inside. So I love that. I think that documentation is crucial for what we do in the industry. As far as like safety innovation, the fact that we're using and charging for air filters, air scrubbers on our fire losses, I think that's crucial because there's so much information about the fact that the toxins are so bad on fire losses. So, when you think about a fire and the smoke is gone by the time we get there. We're dealing with the soot that has all those contaminants and toxins in it. So as we're walking around, we're stirring up those particulates. So we really need air scrubbers on our fire losses. And then another safety thing that is pretty new to the industry is the chlorine dioxide, ProCure. Being able to use that liquid to disinfect and then using the gas to disinfect, deodorize our contents. So using that in the deodorizing room is awesome. It also helps to knock down the odor and the contaminants even before we start cleaning. So it kills COVID, MRSA, And it, to me, to be able to treat the contents before we even process them, it is really valuable.
What do you think is one of your most memorable contents jobs you've ever done?
There are so many. I had a hard time with this one.
I'm still thinking about cleaning all those coins and thinking, I'm not like even a crafty person. More power to people who are able to do that. Even if you're chatting or keeping yourself occupied, I think I would not live. So.
Yeah, it's not for every, and you know what? I couldn't do it every day, but to do it, to figure out a system to do it and do it for a couple days is great. And that's what I love about contents jobs, because every day is different. Okay, one of my most memorable jobs was a Harrier jet crash in Yuma, Arizona. I was living in California, and the contractor who got the job had me fly in, and he actually hired a private jet to bring me in. It was so cool. I felt like all I needed was that little poodle coming down the walkway with me. But the Harrier jet had crashed, and they're small, so they're only 1 or 2 seaters, and the wingspan is short. So they do a lot of testing in Yuma. So this one Harrier jet had crashed. The pilot ejected, and he was safe. But the Harrier jet, the tip of the wing hit the corner of a house, and it was a bedroom, and a young gal was staying overnight while her parents were on vacation. So this happened while she was home alone, and it knocked off the corner of the bedroom next to her bed. She does have hearing damage. I don't know if it was permanent or temporary, but the jet fuel vaporized, and it was all through the house. Whoa. So it was very traumatic for us. We were so glad she survived. And then the homeowners did come back, but before any work could be done in the house, the military police had the entire area, for blocks and blocks, roped off, and they were gathering all the bolts and nuts and everything, all the pieces of the broken plane, so that, all the evidence would be gathered. So then when we got there, the military police were still there. They still had their fencing up on that street around the houses that had been affected. So the jet went into a swimming pool, and that was the neighbor's pool. But the house that we were dealing with, that had the jet fuel vaporized on everything. So the adjuster and I spoke, and she told me, Barb, you decide what's a total loss or not. So we gathered everything together. We had a dumpster outside, and we separated everything. And of course, we had our disposal authorizations, like all the documentation was, good. Well, a few days into the job, the homeowner started asking the adjuster, it's like some things are being thrown away. Can I keep them? And so after the adjuster, had given me full authority, the adjuster allowed the homeowner to gather things from the dumpster that they were going to keep. So now I'm concerned about cross-contamination, and there's toxins on these pieces. So what we had total lost, obviously, was clothing, soft goods, upholstery. So that was really disconcerting to me, and I was concerned about my liability. So I had the adjuster sign off on the fact that they were going beyond my recommendations, and homeowner too. So that was one. We actually got hired to go to Japan to clean at an U.S. Air Force base, and it was after the tsunami. Okay. So Tim went to that one, and he had to clean up and disinfect, because in Japan they just didn't have our type of services available. I worked on the wildfires in Santa Rosa, California. I was there. I saw entire neighborhoods gone. I saw the vineyards, which is near and dear to my heart. I love wine. Many vineyards were just, gone. And we worked for a homeowner whose their house was in the middle of the woods, but they had like 5 different neighbors all around them. The house that was about 100 feet from their home, totally gone. All that was there is the fireplace. The other 5 houses were not inhabitable at all. So we cleaned her house, and she had survivor's guilt. She's like, why were we saved? Why is my house still here? So that was a very emotional type of job. We've cleaned up tear gas, done suicide cleanup. I did a 300,000 square foot building. It was a school district building. They took over a mall, and it was in Florida, and the floods came in. I had to determine what was total loss or not. So once I determined wooden furniture, desks, and things were total loss, the wrecking crew was right behind me, destroying them so that no one could use those and, have that contamination. So I'm sorry, I couldn't give you just one.
No, I'm glad you didn't. Those are all like good examples and way, way different. I know this isn't something that's talked about that often anymore, but kind of when I first got into the industry, a lot of people talked about fentanyl cleanup and, meth lab cleanup. And I know now, I think marijuana maybe is growing even more now that it's becoming legal and getting that residue and stuff off. Do you have any memorable jobs like that?
So far, not yet. No, I haven't. The tear gas is probably the closest.
Mm-hmm.
Because the guy beat up his wife and passed out in the house, and the police shot in 20 cartridges of tear gas. It was everywhere. So
Wow.
that's a really intense cleanup. But so far, no, I haven't dealt with any of the illegal drugs yet. I'm sure it will come.
I'm sure it will. All right. So any predictions on what is to come in the contents world, or things people should be on the lookout for, trends, anything?
I think there are going to be more content only type of companies. Like the type of company I had. Now, we were subcontractors only. We didn't go direct. So, now there are a couple of franchises that have adopted the concept of contents only. And then I think there are those that quit doing contents because they saw it was such a hassle that now they're starting to add it on after all, which I'm thrilled with. Soft goods processing, it's being done in-house more, and that I'm also seeing that the restoration dry cleaners are now getting into contents. So it's kind of like they're swapping roles. One of my concerns is for moving companies to get into the contents field because they don't have the same type of methods and, so yeah, I think those are probably the biggest changes that I've seen coming.
Okay. Anything else related to contents or restoration or the industry or anything that you would want to add?
I think that anybody that wants to get into contents, that I would want them to know that it's totally doable. It's a crawl, walk, run type of situation. We worked with a franchise group all across Canada, and their goal was to get like 6 companies together. We did like a hub and spoke type of thing where the largest company who had the best facility hosted it, and then their smaller offices then came too. And the goal was, well, let's teach the small offices how to do a pack out, and they can send the contents to the larger facility. Well, once those smaller offices had our 5 days of training, I'm like, we're not sharing it. Like we can do this in-house. So the three basic things that any company needs would be a triple bowl stainless steel sink with 2 drain boards. It's 90 inches. It's about $600. That's the core for their hand processing. The other thing I recommend is a walk-in wash bay where we can spray down large pieces of furniture. And the third component is deionized water to accelerate the cleaning process, and there's a lot of different benefits. So just those 3 things, I think someone can start up a contents division, $5,000 or $10,000, but we also know how to spend money. Mm-hmm. And it's like if you have the money to start up a turnkey situation, we can do that too. But the core factors are personnel, having the right people trained, our building. If it's small, then we really need to focus on the processing capabilities, because storage can, expand and contract with our jobs. The third thing we need is the right equipment and supplies. And we can get a lot done on, minimal things, knowing the right things to get. And then the fourth thing is our systems and having the right paperwork. Documentation is everything. One of the jobs that we did during the wildfires, I took a lot of photos of us inside. It was a multi-million-dollar house, and then they had a guest house. So we did the guest house right away. 2 years after the wildfires, I get a call from the contractor who hired me, and he's like, "Barb, do you happen to have photos of the guest house, or that you were in the guest house, like any kind of photos?" I'm like, "Do I have photos?" So I have a lot. It turned out that the home was owned by a lawyer and his wife, and they totally denied that we cleaned their guest house. So I was able to submit photos of the crew in each area of the house, and the supplies that we were using. So he was able to get paid. But it's crazy what people will deny. So documentation is really crucial. So I think contents is a fun type of job to do, especially for people that like change and different things every day. And I would encourage companies to look at it again and to view it as an add-on. You don't have to go in real big to get started. So we can help companies start out very conservatively. Mm-hmm. Perfect. It's only a profit center if you have the right systems, because it can be a money pit if you don't. So
yes, so don't just build a division and then not get training. Yes, don't. Yeah, that is totally true. Well, Barb, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who are watching, you can find more out on totalcontents.com, and you can find Barb on social media and LinkedIn and articles in CNR and some other places. So Barb, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Have an awesome day.
Thank you, Michelle. You too.
For more Restoration Today, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, or find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts.